This podcast is based on real events and personal experiences. Some details may be altered to protect privacy. The opinions and deductions shared are mine alone. While based on real events, the names and certain details have been changed to maintain privacy and respect for all involved. Some cities change your perspective. Others redefine what love means. For me, Lisbon did both. It wasn't just a place. It became the backdrop of a connection that felt like a mirage. Beautiful, intense, and impossible to hold on to. It's October 13, 2024, 9:34 p.m. here in Italy, and I am ready to share a deeply personal chapter of my life. This isn't a fairy tale or a neatly packaged romance. It's real. Vulnerable, flawed, a story where emotions collided, expectations are revealed, and lessons emerged when I least expected them. I'm lending my voice, my name, to tell it, hoping others might see reflections of their own experiences. This isn't about blame or rewriting the past. It's about understanding what happens when we open ourselves to love and what we discover when it doesn't turn out the way we imagined. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica, and this is CHARADE. Approaching 30 can feel like staring down a ticking clock. Even if family and friends have no expectations, the world outside seems so. By 30, opportunities can slip through your fingers. Society subtly suggests you should have it all figured out. And if you don't, well, too late. Thanks, best wishes. P.S. No refunds. At 28, when I got the opportunity to work abroad, it felt like a sign from the universe, a chance to reset. Lisbon appeared on my horizon, a place I'd never seriously considered. Suddenly, Portugal seemed to pop up on the map of Europe. Had it always been there? Luckily, I already had experience living abroad, navigating shared spaces, different cultures and languages. I wasn't naive. But the idea of moving to a European capital, not just a small northern Italian town or a Greek island, still felt daunting. What if I got attacked, robbed? What if I hated the job or the accommodation? What if I couldn't connect with anyone? Or worse, didn't like Lisbon at all? All those what-ifs buzzed around my mind like restless bees, impossible to ignore. Still, they couldn't outshine the thrill of leaving Italy, embracing new adventures, meeting intriguing people, learning a new language, and taking a few daring risks. As my departure approached, I set 3 extra intentions: meet an attractive guy, kiss him, and maybe spend the night with him. Let's be clear, I wasn't flying to Portugal in search of the one. I was chasing excitement, independence, and boldness. The kind of energy you'd expect from a fearless, unapologetic icon of modern femininity. As I settled into my first month in Lisbon, the city desired me with its charm, vibrant colors, and frenetic pace. Every night, there was a free event to attend, and my adventure companions and I always returned home late. And I didn't always have to pay for drinks, a small victory in the nightlife game. But soon, I found myself frowning in confusion. All those cute boys I spotted on the streets during the day, where did they vanish at night? They seemed to dissolve into nothingness, like sugar in tea. And let's not forget the ones in the clubs who wouldn't approach you unless they were absolutely plastered. By then, they were ready to flirt with anything, even the sticky bar counter that probably hadn't been cleaned since the previous weekend. Lisbon seemed like a paradise of handsome men, until night fell, and their initiative vanished into thin air. With a resigned sigh, I reinstalled a dating app on my phone. Curious but cautious, I thought, at least I'll get to know a few people. However, my old profile didn't fit the Lisbon version of me. I wanted to seem mysterious, someone open to fun, but with a depth not easily captured in a swipe. I became my own marketing manager, strategizing how to sell myself just enough to reach my side goals. No one could say I wasn't driven by a clear plan. As the days went by, I exchanged messages with a few cute guys, keeping things light and casual. They got a couple of hours of my time each day, while I let Lisbon work its magic on me, guilt-free. Then, on July 23, 2024, during my lunch break at work, I opened the app and spotted some new "Who Likes Me" notifications. The first profile hit me so hard that my first thought was, is he a catfish? It was almost too attractive, okay? The kind of person you wouldn't expect to need a dating app. So naturally, I swiped right and sent the first message. My mind was already scripting our summer romance, convinced he'd be the one to grant my 3 wishes. The catch? Language. He admitted his English was, well, terrible, but that didn't stop him from suggesting we move the conversation to Instagram. A bold step, wouldn't you say? I thought so too. At first, it was all surface level chatter. Good morning, how are you, how was your day? Mixed with those early get to know you questions. What do you do for a living? Do you smoke? Have tattoos? Drink? Like shopping? What music do you listen to? A slow rhythm, predictable, but strangely comforting. What is a woman's biggest fear when chatting with a man these days? Ghosting? Maybe, but for me, it's unsolicited pictures of, well, private parts. Relax, Grandpa, no need to raise an eyebrow. Thankfully, I never received those. But every time he mentioned working out, I'd get an half-naked selfie. It suddenly hit me. I was sitting at an imaginary table with him, a chessboard between us, and he was already making moves to test me. Sure, I enjoyed the view, but it was clear he was craving validation. All that beauty seemed to scream, "Do you see me? Am I enough? Please say yes, or I'll fall apart." I always deflected. I never gave him compliments or reciprocated with my own pictures. But once, while talking about the green field in the background, I joked that from my window I could see a sexier view. It wasn't true, of course. I was being sarcastic. My window faced the back of the building, but he didn't know that. He replied, "I hope it doesn't take you long to show me that view." I wasn't interested in playing those games. I wasn't sure how to react to his selfies because what I really wanted were real-life actions, not just pixel on a screen. I wasn't about to lower myself and send him a picture with the caption, "Here's the view, hope it doesn't disappoint." If you find me attractive, come get me in person, not through the empty promises of internet pixel. A few weeks passed, with the same monotonous exchanges, draining my interest. Especially because he started to nickname me Princesa, casually adding Minha as if it were mere seasoning. I felt reduced to being 12, even though other men before him, my father at the top of the list, had called me that. And therefore, this should have A. made my heart skip a beat, B. made me dripping wet. Alas, neither was in sight. But I appreciated this because it kept me distant. It would have been harder if he had called me by my name and recognized me. However, according to the calendar, I had little time to waste on that young adult nonsense. I wanted to meet him and see if any attraction sparked. Wishes were waiting to be fulfilled, like being kissed at Praça do Comércio and in Costa de Caparica. But what did he do instead? "Let's go together," he suggested after I mentioned my 2 cruises. "You and me?" I emphasized. I didn't know if it was to convince me or to make him realize how ridiculous he sounded. I might have gone along with a trip to some European city, but he couldn't have expected me to think we'd go on a cruise together. However, I played along because dreaming together felt refreshing and free of charge. I imagined us at the back of the ship, smiling as we admired the blue expanse, the wind tousling our hair and sharing playful affection. I imagined us splashing in the pool, holding trays of delicious food, dancing to the DJ, and sharing a fabulous amount of sex in the cabin. My creative thinking has constantly been extraordinary, but dangerous. So I realized that cruises weren't within everybody's budget and that we were merely playing. There was no point in rushing to the cruise company's website to check the price list. It wasn't happening anyway. Hey, do you like shopping? Yes, I like it. It's because I want to buy some clothes for myself. Could you come with me and let me choose? What am I, your personal shopper? My future girlfriend. You have to help me choose the clothes. Does he usually work with other girls? First time I use it. But I'm serious. I tried to give him a chance, okay? But spending my day in Lisbon with a stranger at a shopping mall wasn't part of my plan. What kind of first date was that supposed to be? It seemed like he was trying to play it off as some romantic gesture. Take me shopping, I'll grant you the honor. At that moment, I could feel a hint of selfishness in the air, making me uneasy. The next evening, hell yeah, I made my discomfort clear. Was I being difficult? No, I was respecting my boundaries. Wrapped in the soft light of my room in central Lisbon, I sat comfortably on my bed, planning our first date together. Haha, I know what you're thinking. Date? It comes across as serious and demanding, but I'm taking the liberty of calling it that because that's what he called it. I expected him to retreat, but to my surprise, he appeared open and flexible, so I returned to my original plan, Praça do Comércio. And the thought of falling asleep peacefully lingered in my mind, knowing that tomorrow I will meet a captivating stranger in a familiar, bustling place, worthy of every millisecond of my time. Fuck shopping! It will be comforting to say that my biggest worry before a first date was what to wear. Whether to reveal a little or nothing at all. I wanted to be authentic, break away from the conventional formulas, yet remain cautious, as you never really know what's going on in someone's mind. But honestly, my main concern wasn't about clothes. It was about who to tell among my roommates. My mother thought she knew everything and had her metaphorical sniper rifle ready, was in another country. If something were to go wrong, I needed someone to understand my situation. I knew exactly who to trust with that kind of delicate matter, because I wasn't about to broadcast my plans. So I asked the girl next door to call me an hour after the date. She offered to stay in case things got unpredictable, but I declined. A phone call would have been enough. I didn't want to waste her time with my questionable choices. If anything went wrong, the subway was nearby and the port police weren't far either. That ought to count for something. Did you know that I could have gotten the same subway as him? I had the time to reach the platform and board, but I stopped, deciding to take the next one. First, I feared we might meet on the train, which felt like it could bring something unexpected. Second, I didn't want to wait for a man. When I got off at Terreiro do Passo, he told me it was behind the arch. I frowned, thinking we'd meet nearby the subway exit. Wouldn't that have made more sense? Shrugging, I followed the direction I knew by heart, and halfway up the steps, I stopped. Am I sure I want to do this? With a quick thought, I dismissed all doubts. If I don't like how things go, I'll just take the subway back home. For once, I focused less on whether I could catch his interest and more on what I truly wanted. Hey there, listener! While you are deep in this story, here is a thought. Ever wondered if your adventures could inspire someone else? I want to hear from you. Share your impressions about this episode, Mr. Mirage, or your own unforgettable experiences. Email me at thecharadepodcast@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram at jessie.charade. Here's the twist. In an upcoming episode, I'll feature your stories, anonymously or not, so your voice can join the journey. Don't miss the chance to be a part of Charade. Let's make it personal. Now, back to our story. After a deep breath, I climbed the remaining steps. I sent him a picture of the square with the message, "On my way there." He replied, "I'm coming your way." Will I spot him in the crowd? We don't even know what we're wearing. And just like that, it all happened in the blink of an eye. I glanced up at the crowd crossing the street, and our eyes locked as if by magic. We shared a smile. I stopped, watching him approach, and I couldn't help but think he was even more handsome in person than in photos. He extended his hand, and while the gesture made sense in that situation, I instinctively leaned in and wrapped my arms around his neck. Mr. Mirage seemed relieved by my warmth. After pulling away from the embrace, he took my hand and held it against his chest. Now, I found it premature. A hug was intimate, but it ended. Holding hands felt different. We were nothing, but we already looked like something more to everyone else. But I didn't question it. It didn't bother me. The real issue was something else: communication. His voice got lost in the chaos around us, compounded by his sole use of Portuguese and my untrained ears. Frustration took hold, not panic. With neither my native language nor English to rely on, I had to depend on the 200 hours of Spanish and the 8 hours of Portuguese lessons I had taken before leaving. Mentally thanking my teachers, I accepted the challenge of expressing myself in a language where I hoped my words would make sense. We walked along Avenida Ribeira das Naus, and I felt pleasantly surprised when he followed the sidewalk rule. I ticked off one point on my list of acceptable behaviors for a guy. Every now and then, we stopped as he pointed out things that interested him. It felt routine for me, since I had visited often, so I found this surprise unusual. I assumed he came here regularly, even though he lived an hour from Lisbon. We tried to make conversation, but it was often interrupted by laughter or aided by the translator, which helped clear up misunderstandings. As the sunset approached, I suggested we sit on the large marble blocks where I usually went alone. Cuidado, señorita, he said, as I settled onto the edge of the little bay overlooking Praça do Comércio. I marveled at how bizarre life could be. The day before, I had sat alone, listening to my favorite music, and now someone shared that moment with me, admiring the same view. Yet, I couldn't help wondering, could this be our first and last outing? Anyone with common sense would have seen the language barrier as a challenge. Without an easy way to communicate, how could we make this work? I asked why he was on a dating app. Mr. Mirage explained he wanted to meet interesting people looking for a relationship. Internally, I raised my brows. Why go out with me if I'm only here for another 31 days? I admitted he didn't seem like someone who needed a dating app. Mr. Mirage shrugged and said he was shy. If no one started the conversation, he wouldn't. How could he be shy if he dared send me shirtless photos? I could have probed further, but I wasn't interested. That inconsistency would have only mattered if I wanted to be his girlfriend. And I didn't. As evening approached, so did hunger. At least, that's what he suggested. Oddly, my stomach didn't feel particularly hungry, but I knew we couldn't stay there all night. Halfway through the square, he stopped, noticing the moon behind the statue of Don José and wanting to take a picture. A thought struck me before I could suppress it. Will the reader capture the landscape then immortalize our first outing? What did it matter? I hadn't taken any pictures, not even a sunset, as if I didn't want to leave a trace of that day. Besides, I wasn't interested in a restaurant in Praza. If he hadn't been a gentleman and offered to pay, I'd probably have had to fork out a kidney and a half just for a pizza. Instead, I suggested we continue on Rua Augusta. Another tourist trap he seemed ready to fall into, but one I was eager to avoid. We could eat at McDonald's. Do you like it? Oh, I liked it, especially for the low prices. For the first time, we agreed, and soon we found ourselves at Praça Rocio, slipping into McDonald's to place our order. With our tray in hand, we decided to sit outside. We picked a central table, and as I was about to sit, I noticed a mayonnaise stain on the surface. I planned to clean it with a napkin, but Mr. Mirage surprised me by wiping it away himself. Another tick on my mental approval list. You often hear how tricky it is to eat on first dates. What if I get something stuck in my teeth? What if I chew like a cow? Yet those fears didn't bother me. My previous job had forced me to share meals with singles, couples, and families, so I had some experience. Looking back, I don't remember the exact conversation we had. We talked about why I was in Lisbon and how his sandwich exceeded his jaw capacity. But one thought stayed with me. Mr. Mirage never pulled out his phone or glanced around during the meal. His attention was on me. His hands stretched across the table, waiting for mine, and when they finally met, it felt like everything had aligned. What bothered me, though, was how few French fries he'd eaten. They had gone cold. To me, it felt like a waste of food and money. It reminded me of my father, who sometimes shrugged if food remained on the plate for any reason other than fullness. And let's be honest, it was never a good sign for a woman if the man she was getting to know reminded her of her father, especially when he wasn't her Prince Charming, like mine wasn't. But I was clear on one thing: I had a month and I was determined to have fun. Do you want to walk again? He gestured with two fingers like legs. I accepted willingly. Sitting for too long wasn't my style. At a comfortable pace, we reached Praça Restauradores. When I asked if he had ever been there, he shook his head in answer. I pointed out the Avenida da Liberdade stretching out before us. He corrected my pronunciation, leaving me speechless and amused. Not because of the correction, but by discovering the real pronunciation. I repeated it, savoring the taste of the foreign accent in my mouth. We walked along the sideline with high-end designer shops. I liked that neighborhood. It felt elegant and classy. We attempted to converse more, but my mind swirled with a single thought. What do we do when we reach Marquês do Pombal? As the evening grew late and work awaited us the next day, I was close home. Would he leave early or walk me home? Do I want him to know where I live? The uncertainty tugged at me, an undercurrent of hesitation that I couldn't shake. It wasn't just about him, it was about me too. What did I want from this moment? Was I ready to let it evolve, or was I holding back, too afraid of the potential aftermath? Honestly, I wonder what occupied his mind. Most likely, the cosmic void. At the end of the tree-lined avenue, Marquês do Pombal loomed in all its grandeur. Have you ever been there? I pointed. You can guess his answer. Do you know you can cross and visit? Want to go? I hoped it didn't sound desperate. It was a weak attempt to stall. I wasn't ready to take him home yet, and I needed to know if he planned to leave soon. The subway was right beneath us, more convenient than anything. The light turned green, and I found myself in the heart of Lisbon with Mr. Mirage. Rarely anyone passed by, while the surrounding traffic clogged the streets of the Portuguese capital. As we arrived at the back of the statue, Mr. Mirage hung his jacket on a decorative railing, removed my bag from my shoulder, and hugged it there. I felt a shift in the air. A quiet tension buzzed between us, palpable but unspoken. In that fleeting moment, our eyes met, and without thinking, our lips collided. He leaned against the railing, and I leaned into him as fireworks exploded in my brain. The kiss deepened, and my hand trailed the curve of his toned bicep, while his fingers gripped my back, as if trying to pull me closer. Mr. Mirage Mount descended into the hollow of my neck, and I tightened my fingers in his hair. As I opened my eyes for the first time, I took in the scene. While we existed in our bubble of time, the traffic of Lisbon flew around us. For a brief moment, I forgot where I was, lost in the intensity of his touch, the warmth of his skin against mine. The city seemed to disappear, leaving only the rhythm of our bodies. But as quickly as that moment overtook me, a thought interrupted my blissful fog. Excuse me, what if someone sees us from a car? How appropriate is our behavior? Here I was, with an attractive guy in the throbbing heart of Lisbon. The worst part? The knowing smiles we exchanged between kisses, and our bodies tangled in such a way that felt far too intimate for a public place. Oh, I relished the effect I seemed to have on him, how he couldn't get enough. But in the same breath, a flicker of caution crept in. Every few moments, he pulled away, making soft sounds as if he were holding back. Lindona, he murmured, a looping hair about him. What does it mean? Linda, he began, and I nodded, acknowledging that I understood. Then he spread his arms wide. Pro mais grande. I laughed, pleased. Then we kissed again, and my brain thought it'd probably take me right here if he could. And the fact was that I wouldn't want to stop him. But as much as his fingers had the opportunity to show me what they were capable of, there were boundaries I wasn't willing to cross in the heart of Lisbon. As much as my body responded to him, a small voice inside whispered, "Not yet." So I broke the kiss. Not out of lack of desire, but because I knew I had to. The thrill of it all was undeniable, but so was my need to maintain control. After regaining my composure, we continued walking, as I stifled a few yawns. In a sing-song voice, he teased, "Oh, está com sonho?" As if I were the most adorable creature he'd ever seen, forgetting his earlier impure thoughts. I laughed, but admitted my fatigue. He covered my cheek with kisses, which made me laugh even more. But even in those small, sweet moments, a part of me couldn't help but wonder, what happens next? As we turned onto my street, I considered pretending to live in another building, just so I could slip away and go to mine once he left. But the street was still alive with the hum of passing people, so it wasn't as isolated as I had imagined. I don't remember the exact words, but I told him, "This is my building." The surprise in his eyes gave me a sense of quiet pleasure, a secret satisfaction in revealing that I lived in Marques do Pombal. "You're very close," he remarked. And he was right. The part of the city was well served, and I knew I was lucky. "Lindona." He spun me around, a simple but fluid move like in a waltz, his hand gripping mine, lifting my arm as he guided me through the turn. When I faced him again, the playful glint in his eyes sent a rush through me, and for a second, I felt like he was a partner in a dance only we understood. My laughter collided with his lips, feeling even easier than the first time. My mind raced, caught in that internal tug of war. Should I invite him in and break all the rules, or leave this moment untouchable? "Enough," I said, pulling back, and he nodded in agreement. "Lindona." I smiled, but gently urged Mr. Mirage to call an Uber to go home. I can't remember if we spent the wait exchanging words or kisses, but when the Uber arrived, he spoke something in Portuguese that I didn't quite catch, then kissed me. He took a couple of steps, looked at me, and retraced his steps to kiss me again. "Boa noite, lindona." "Good night." From the other side of the street, he turned to look at me one last time, letting the moment linger between us before he climbed into the Uber and disappeared into the night. As I closed the door behind me and a smile lingered on my lips, I realized our story was beginning anew. In a city that pulsed with energy and secrets, I couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter with Mr. Mirage might lead to a thrilling new chapter, or a beautiful mess. But wasn't that the magic of love in a place like Lisbon? And that's a wrap for today's chapter of Charade. Thank you for spending this time with me, it truly means the world. Next time, we'll dive into Caparica, the beach affair. Let's just say things got a little sandy, and a lot more complicated. You won't want to miss it. Until next time, stay curious and take care. Mwah! I am Jessica, and this is Charade.